Good evening, students. This evening we'll be going over all of the information for the second government test. We're going to start off here with the difference between the two political parties. Just so you have the notes to copy, I'm going to leave them here for a second if you'd like to pause. Well, the difference between the two of them, we've got the Democratic and Republican Party. The reason we have a two-party system is because we go all the way back to early American history in the 1800s. These are the two that still exist today. What you need to know first and foremost is that they have similar goals, but they have different ideas on how to get there. What I mean by that is that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party both want better education, they want better health care, they want the economy to improve. What really gets them caught up is the fact that both of them have different ideas on what path we need to take. And that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about as we go. First of all, you have the Democratic Party. Their symbol is the donkey. Forgive my pun. So we have the donkey. And the way that you can remember that the Democratic Party has the donkey, well, we both got D's at the beginning. So the Democratic Party has the donkey as the symbol, and the reason they do that is because it's built on back-breaking work. The donkey in the fields used to plow, they used to carry, they used to be beasts of burden, so they used to carry a whole bunch of different materials. So they keep on going. That's because the Democratic Party is all about the common man. So the common man, what he means by that is back in the day when it was founded, the common man used to be a farmer. It's the everyday man. Now when the Democratic Party was founded, it was to kind of try and wrestle the power away from the rich. So they wanted to go and appeal to the fact that everybody has popular sovereignty, especially the common man, because he outnumbers the rich. So the donkey and Democratic, you got to remember that he's the common man. He helps to farm. The way that they're looking to help everything along, help the economy go, is by big government. They're looking to have the government take care of everything from healthcare, food, unemployment, housing, whatever you need. The Democratic Party thinks that the big government is going to solve that. And we'll see how that's kind of changed whenever we talk about the Republican Party real quick. Their symbol is the elephant. Because unlike the Democratic Party, which wants a big government, the Republicans want to be big all on their own. They're looking for big business. Because they believe that the economy, business, will be kick-started, and that is what's actually going to help everybody. From the poor, it'll help housing, it'll help with everything around that. They want the business to take care of it rather than the government. They are the ones who stand for big business. They stand for the economy driving forward. That means that they're looking for a little government. So an easy, quick little way to remember the highlights here. Go ahead and copy that down if you'd like. If you're down with the common man, the Democratic Party has got you, fam. And then for the Republican, limited gov in the GOP, Republican Party, it's the way to be. Now keep in mind, GOP, that one stands for the Grand Old Party. If you look at the two of them, that might help you just to keep in your mind which each one is. So one more time. If you're down with the common man, the Democratic Party has got you, fam. Limited gov in the GOP, the Republican Party, it's the way to be. So, the two of those are the political parties, and they're going to be represented on that upcoming exam because they do play a very big part in how our government is run. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about local government. And there's been a little bit of confusion about this. So, think about it like a pyramid. You've got small at the municipal level, all the way up to large at the federal level. So the bigger you are, the more you cover, but the less you actually do on the local level. So your local government, meaning the municipal and the county, they're the ones that take care of all of the things that you might take for granted. like roads and signs on local roads, the fire department, water and power, police, and garbage. These are things that local government takes care of, and we'll talk about how they take care of that as we go. So the municipal part, another word for the municipal part is a city. So these are things like Houston. An easy way that you can tell if it's a municipal government is if there's a mayor or a council. And the way that you have a municipal government is you have to have at least 5,000 people, and you basically make your own laws, but you still have to follow that Texas Constitution, because that framework is one that we can't really just decide to ignore. Next up, you've got the county level. They're the ones that help the state kind of execute all of their responsibilities. What that means is they're the ones that take care of elections, so like setting up the ballots and all of that. They're also the ones that take care of jail. They take care of actually quite a lot, but most importantly, they're the ones that take care of birth records all the way down through death records. So everything in between the county government is going to take care of. After that, you have the state government. They're the ones who make the laws. So they've got those three branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. So they're the ones who make the laws, and the governor is the one who backs them up. The state government, they're also responsible for education. And that's something we'll talk about a little bit later. The federal government, it mainly only deals with big picture. So it only interferes whenever something really big is going down. That's when we're talking about courts and things. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more whenever we talk about public education. The question is, with all of these things that the government takes care of, how is it going to pay for it? That's where we're going to talk about a little bit of revenue. So our revenue, or in other words, our earnings, for the government is made a few different ways. The municipal, it takes a sales tax, which is about around here a 0.08 or 0.08 on the dollar. So what that means basically is that we have an 8% tax. It also has fees, and fees come from things like licenses. They also come from things like certificates. For instance, my teaching certificate would be a fee that goes into this. And then you also have fines. Fines, those are things like speeding tickets or property fines. Next up, at the county level, you have bonds and fees. And remember, bonds, they have to be chosen. They have to basically go through an election. So they're looking for either yes, we're going to approve it, or no, we're not going to approve it. And that just means that the taxpayers are going to be paying a little bit more. Counties also have fees for things like certificates, and for that I'm talking more like the birth certificates and death certificates, marriage certificates, anything the county takes care of. And they also have fees from property registration. The state government, they've got a sales tax, and again, that's 8% in Texas. They also have fees like license certification. They've got fines like tickets and property, but they also have federal funds, which means that the Washington, D.C. is going to give money to the state government. And those generally come with a few conditions that the state has to meet, but it's for well-being. Basically, that means that we're trying to make sure that all of the needs of our local governments, all of the needs of our people are met. And that's the only reason that the federal funds come into the state. Now, if you notice, they all work on different levels, but they're all part of the same system. That's because this is just another way of illustrating that this is a federalism system. Which just means that we have different layers all working together as one big government. Alright, finally we're going to go ahead and talk about, well, not quite finally yet. Sorry guys, we got a little bit longer. Alright, we're going to talk about the roles and responsibilities of a citizen. So that's citizenship that we're talking about. You've got two big things that we're going to talk about. You've got the duties and the responsibilities. The easiest way to remember the difference is if you don't do your duty, you're going to go to jail. You're going to be stuck in here. So, for duties, just remember, duties, you've got to do them. There's three big ones that I'd like to talk about. First off, follow the law. If you don't, obviously, you're going to either be fined or put in prison. Next up, you want to make sure you're going to pay your taxes. Again, if you don't, you end up getting a ticket or you have to go to jail. Finally, you also have to sign up for the draft. And remember, a draft is something that every male signs up for when they turn 18. And if there is a war, then that means that we're going to be called into war. That very rarely takes place. It happened during the Civil War, it happened during Vietnam, but it doesn't happen very frequently. Still, it is your duty to sign up for the draft and to report if you're needed. Now again, duties, they have consequences. So if you don't do them, you're going to go to jail. Responsibilities. Responsibilities are things that are kind of requested from you. They're things that you don't necessarily have to do, but it is something that you should do as a responsible citizen. For instance, rock the vote. If you don't vote, you're not having you're not using your power, your popular sovereignty, nor are you using your republicanism power, which means that you're voting in a representative. Next up, you want to stay well informed. If you vote without being informed, essentially you're just taking a guess, and you don't want to do that. So in order to vote, you have to be well informed. Now naturally, they're not going to throw you in jail if you don't read the newspaper, so that is a responsibility. Finally, we've got volunteering. And again, you're not going to be thrown in jail if you don't volunteer, but it does help the community. It makes everything a little bit better all the way around, which makes that a responsibility of citizens. An easy thing that you need to know about all of these, the responsibilities, there's another name for them. And it's kind of a blanket statement. It covers all of these together. Those are called your civic responsibilities. Ran out of room. Sorry, guys. So that's kind of your roles and responsibilities as a citizen. Now we're going to wrap it up with arguably one of the more confusing ones that we've gone over in government, and that's public education. So with public education, there are two big parts of it. There are two big things that we need to focus on at the state level. First things first, we got to focus on the guys who make the policy. The people who make the policy, that's the Board of Education. The Board of Education, they're the ones who set the policy. They're the ones who decide what subjects are going to be taught. They're the ones who decide everything about what's going down in the schools. But they're not really the ones who enforce it because there's only 15 people. So they're not going to walk around the whole state and 15 people enforce everything. They need somebody to do that for them. And that's where we enter with the TEA. A lot of you like to call it T in class, but that is the Texas Education Agency. These are the guys who enforce the laws. When the Board of Education says that we have to teach science, and here's what we have to teach, the TEA is the one who walks by and makes sure that every district is following these policies. If the Board of Education says that we have to be licensed, the TEA is the one who enforces that. They make sure we have the license. So the two of them have a big old influence because they're the ones who tell the independent school districts, or ISDs, what's going to go down. The ISDs have to follow it, and they each have their own system. So for instance, for us, we have Sci-Fair, independent, school district. So for Sci-Fair Independent School District, they've got the same thing as everybody else. So we'll break it down. First, at the local level, Sci-Fair Independent School District is not going to be all the way out in Austin. They're not part of that state. They're not going to be out in Dallas either. They are purely local. They're only in Cypress, only up here. Oops. So they're only in Cypress. That way their local government knows exactly what we need at a local level. Again, you deal most with the local government. The federal government comes in very rarely. So the ISDs, for instance, Sci-Fair, has a board of trustees. Not to be confused with the Board of Education. Don't want to do that. So the Board of Trustees, these are the guys who decide a lot of different things. They're the ones who put in, they appoint the superintendent. And this guy's kind of like the principal for principals. He's the one who takes care of all of the administration. He's kind of almost like the executive, whereas the Board of Trustees is almost like the legislative branch. So they appoint the superintendent. They choose when new schools are going to be built. And they also will raise or lower property tax. So they're the ones who set that. So they pretty much have the whole independent school district is run by the Board of Trustees. As far as funding goes, and I'm going to say this word until you guys are so sick and tired of hearing it, you just won't be able to stand it. Revenue is made by mostly property tax. Property tax pays for schools for the most part. They get a couple of other funding sources. For instance, these are the minor ones. They're a little bit smaller. You've got the bonds, which is, again, an election to pay more as a taxpayer. And you also have a very little, little amount of federal funding. And keep in mind, the reason that is because the federal government has to pay all around. They have to pay all the schools in the entire nation. So they can't really pay a whole bunch into most schools. So that's why the property tax, the local property tax, takes care of local schools. So this is just a quick little way to put together all the information that, again, is kind of the hardest part of this. So make sure you've got the education system pretty well under advisement. Read through this a couple more times, write through it a few more times. Now, you guys have been studying real hard lately. I appreciate that very much. Keep on going, and best of luck on your exam tomorrow. I know you guys will be good because you shouldn't be nervous as long as you're prepared. Have a fantastic evening. I can't wait to see y'all tomorrow.